All right, today we are talking about our different zones of running. There's a lot of confusion around it, like what is a threshold run versus a marathon pace run versus zone 2 or strides. There's so much to it, it's kind of hard to keep track of all of it and how you need to apply it to your own running. And I want to make the language around it a little more simple and easy to understand. So what I'm going to go through is from slowest to fastest, what the different kinds of runs are, and then how it might apply to you. You may notice I'm not in the normal setup here, so please let me know if anything is out of whack. I'm trying to stream through the hotspot on my phone. So let me know if anything needs to be adjusted from normal. We're going to start with, well, I guess I'll tell you. My name's Joe. For those of you who don't know, I manage a local running store. I got my degree in exercise science, and I really like the running space. I don't have any coaching to sell you. I just like giving out good information. I'm not trying to get a coaching job out of this. I've done plenty of coaching in my time and not something I'm trying to do more of. All sounding good, Carl. Brilliant. Thank you. So once I go through these, I'm going to open it up to questions, whether it's related specifically to the different kinds of paces or any other running questions, training questions that you might have. We're going to start with our first pace, our easiest pace, and this is easier than zone 2 if you've heard that before. All I want for our first one here is our ability to go out and call this our all-day pace. So you can go out, and this is going to look vastly different for different runners. There are some people who can just go run 8-minute miles forever. There are other people who, if they want to be moving for long periods of time, they may be walking. And this will all be relative to you, where you're at, and how you feel about your current fitness. So all day pace, what we're doing is we're promoting circulation. So we're getting some of these really easy zone 2 adaptations, but not even zone 2, just easy aerobic adaptations. And then we are getting better at using fat for fuel. So we all have stores of fat, and we can pull on that to create energy aerobically. So just normal breathing and not getting into the really high threshold or above your threshold where we're using anaerobic fuel for energy, well, anaerobic pathways, but I digress. We'll get to that momentarily. This is going to be really low heart rate, so it's going to be dependent on your age and your max heart rate, so I can't give you heart rate ranges. For me, it's going to be different than somebody who is 65. Like, our max heart rates are just different. Hey, thanks, Carl. Yeah, do drop a like if that's something that you'd be happy to do. It doesn't cost anything. It's free. So with this all-day pace, it's just getting structural adaptation, it's getting better at using fat for fuel, and it's promoting blood circulation to our whole body. So we're pushing blood out to get resources, but that helps with just general circulation as well. This is an area where if you have a hard session, you might spend some time here the following day. So today I had a pretty hard long run. Tomorrow, I'm going to do a relatively easy run where my heart rate's really low and I'm just moving my body around. Actually, I did a workout yesterday, long run today, so we're going to be really easy tomorrow. So hopefully the all-day pace kind of makes sense for this first part. Then we'll go to zone 2. That is our, everybody talks about zone 2. This is your easy, comfortable pace, but you wouldn't be able to do this for hours on end. You would eventually tucker out. At this point, and I do have my notes down here, which is why I'm looking up and back, we are building our aerobic base. So now we have more energy demand on our muscles. They're saying, hey, I need energy to do this movement that you're asking me to do. So we have to use fat for fuel here as well, but this is where I like to do a lot of my carbohydrate training or like fuel training. So today on my long run, I averaged about 100 grams of carbohydrates per hour that I was running. So we went through about 195 grams of carbs in just under 2 hours. That's excellent because I'm saying, hey, in this low stress environment, a long run where I can practice things, if something upsets my stomach, I can stop and get to a bathroom or what have you. I can practice getting in the water, the hydration, and I can practice getting the fuel in. And then the muscles can start grabbing and saying, oh, I can use a little more carbohydrate today than I could last week. It just gets more efficient with that process because our stomach has to use energy, use blood to take the resources and then push it out to the muscles to use it. So you're kind of training two different things. You're doing your run, which requires energy, and then you're also asking your stomach to do different kinds of work and asking these two things to kind of work in harmony. So it just takes time to get used to doing that. And then I talk about it a lot, our structural adaptation. So our muscles, our tendons and our ligaments, and our bones all take time to adapt and change to the stresses we're putting on it. If you go run out of nowhere, a 10-mile run, and you are not used to doing that at all, it's going to really beat your body up. That's not what we're going for. We want our body to, over time, adapt and get better. The zone 2 is not super metabolically taxing, and we'll get to what that means in a minute, but it's more on our structure, on our, all of that connective tissue I just named off. It takes time for that to get into to get reorganized. So your tendons get thicker, your muscles get more resilient. All that comes from this easy zone 2 running. Next, we'll go to tempo. I'm sure you've heard this, and I think there's a ton of muddying of the waters around what a tempo run is. To me, I break it down, it's right around your marathon to half marathon pace. Now, if you don't run that far, that's fine. You're just thinking in your head, it's not something that you feel like super comfortable doing. It's hard enough where you kind of are starting to want to be done if you were to go long enough. So for me, that's what my pace was today. I was at a little faster than my marathon pace. Actually, no, I guess I was a little slower than it. But by the end of 2 hours, my heart rate had drifted up a little bit. It started getting a little warmer, and I was teetering into that tempo heart rate zone, but not the tempo pace zone, which is interesting. Stream's bit rate is lower than recommended. If you see any stuttering, let me know and I can see if I can change anything on my end here. I can see if I can drop the bit rate down. Let me know. So tempo pace, I just equate to marathon, half marathon pace. This is something you could sustain for maybe 2 hours if it was an all-out effort. Or if you're a marathoner and you're used to going longer, it could be up a little longer than that amount of time. So what do we get out of it? What would this look like? A long run with quality work in it. So I did a 8-mile run the other day where it was 2 miles of warm up and then 6 miles straight at a little faster than my marathon goal pace. So it was marathon pace, and then I worked my way down 2 hours around my half marathon pace. By the end of that run, my heart rate was pretty high. I was definitely ready to be done. That is a lot of adaptation, and now we are asking for a little bit of metabolic demand. So our bodies are saying like, ooh, this is more energy than that zone 2 running where I can do a lot of it with fat. Now I need help with some carbohydrates to meet the demands of the energy that we are requiring of our bodies at that pace. So tempo, we're getting better at producing energy with carbohydrates and with fat. We're getting more efficient at our goal paces if you're trying to run a half marathon or a full marathon. Okay, looks good still. And then we are looking for that around 1 to 2 hours for training, kind of time zone for how long you're going to be in that range. Next, we're moving to threshold. This is when we have more demand on our body than we can meet with just our normal energy production. So I talk about it a lot. I've done a lot of videos. Please go watch some of my videos on aerobic adaptation if you're interested in that. It is going to be beyond that. So if we just use carbs and we use fat with that, that meets our energy demand for these first couple of like efforts we're talking about, threshold or tempo or zone 2, or tempo, zone 2, or all day work. Once we're at threshold, we are saying we're running pretty fast. This is something you're holding for probably less than an hour, and really it's probably closer to your 10K pace. So for me, my 10K is 42 minutes or something like that. That means I'm sitting on my threshold for pretty much that whole time, where if you go above that, you are going to hit a wall. You cannot sustain the energy demand of your body at that pace for a long enough time. Fatigue is going to catch up with you. So if we don't have aerobic energy, what are we using? We have to use our anaerobic energy processes. The problem with that is the anaerobic process has byproducts. So these byproducts accumulate. So if you hear people talk about lactic acid, that's not like a super clean way of saying that. Think about it as a more acidic pH in your cells. So that inhibits pretty much all the processes that are important. So our body's like being right at normal. So whatever that cell's normal pH level is, if we start playing with it, it doesn't have a lot of tolerance for changes in pH. So if we spend too long there, it's going to accumulate more and more and more, and eventually your body just starts saying, nope, you're done now. You have hit your level of fatigue. We will not be playing this game anymore. You will slow down. So if you see people in a 10K hit the wall, that's usually because they went out too hard, too far above their threshold for their body to be able to maintain that pace. So in workouts, you're going to try and accumulate maybe like 10 to 15 minutes of time at threshold, and then you can expand that over time. So there's like the double threshold thing that people do that is interesting. These are usually very experienced runners who are trying to accumulate more and more time at their threshold so that they can get better at their 5K and 10K and 3K and mile runs, because they're expanding the amount of time that they can stay there. They are continuing to adapt to the stress of what their threshold is. They're stressing and therefore adapting to that stress. Let me make sure. Okay, cool. I still think we're okay on the stream. Again, let me know if anything's being weird, if I'm skipping at all on the stream, and I'll try and drop bit rate. But so far, it looks maybe okay. We're going to keep rolling. For you out there, what would a threshold run look like? You can do a handful of different ways, but intervals are usually going to be the easiest way of doing it. It might be a minute to start, where you do a minute pretty fast. Still good, Carl. Thank you. Doing a minute pretty fast, and then maybe 2 minutes lower than your threshold. So maybe you're in your zone 2, or tempo range. So you can start clearing the byproducts that you built up in that minute of hard running. You clear it while still having an energy demand on the body, and then you go back. And then you can kind of go back and forth. So you could do like 8 by a minute at your threshold pace, and that's an early on. Who else is in the live chat? Yeah, wave, say hi if you are in here. I love seeing when people pop up. It actually kind of makes my day and makes me feel like I'm talking to people. So you can do like 8 by a minute on with 2 minutes at an easier pace, and then you can build that up over time where you're spending more time at your threshold, and then you can clear the byproducts of your threshold faster. So the number might go from 1 minute on to 2 minutes off to, you could do 2 minutes on, and then you could stay at 2 minutes, or then you could drop it. There are a lot of ways you can make really interesting workouts around your threshold. So if you hear your threshold, think pretty hard, relatively uncomfortable, but manageable for a period of time. Like you could do a mile at threshold. I've done workouts where in my last half marathon block, I worked up to 7 by mile around my threshold pace with standing rest between. So I would have this big accumulation of anaerobic byproducts, and then I would have a minute where I'm not really having an energy demand, and I'm just saying clear, clear, clear. Produce as much energy as we can to clear all of this crud out and meet the demand that we've got. Hey, what is up, Randolph? Thanks for stopping by. If you have any questions, drop them in and I'll go back through at the end and make sure I answer all of them. But yeah, I ended up doing like 7 by mile at my threshold, which means I was accumulating a lot of time there. It was pretty hard. And maybe I was somewhere between like my tempo and threshold for that. But by the end of that whole block of training, I had gone from being able to do 800, so half a mile by 6 to 7 by full mile. And the 800s are maybe a smidge faster, but you know, over time you can just develop a lot of ability to clear the byproducts of your anaerobic respiration, anaerobic energy production, which is fun. Moving to the next, so again, around 10K pace, if you can accumulate maybe 15 minutes of threshold, 10 to 15 minutes of threshold early on, that's really, really good for you. That's going to be a lot of adaptation that you can get. And again, it's going to change with how adapted you are. So the earlier on in your running journey, threshold is going to be really uncomfortable and you're probably going to get there pretty fast. That's why walk jog is so important. You get to do the same thing where you're above your threshold because you've got a lot of room to improve. When I was doing miles at threshold, I still had to stop, or like I could have jogged between, but like I chose to stop or walk because I still needed to clear the product. So whether you're running, you know, around 7-minute pace or just under, or you're running 13-minute pace, if you're above your current threshold, you don't have an option. You have to drop below it. So let's touch on all these again. All day pace, really easy. You can do it all day. Zone 2. This is your easy, you can go for a long time. You're getting a lot of good adaptation from it. You're getting a lot of structural adaptation, but you're not going as long as your all day pace. Your tempo is your half marathon to full marathon pace effort, or effort pace. We're spending up to an hour or two there. 2 hours is a long time to spend at tempo pace, actually. Probably closer to an hour for most training sessions. Threshold, we are at our 10K pace, and this is where it starts getting pretty hard to hang on to it. You just did your first half running, your second one tomorrow. That's awesome, Carl. Next is VO2 max. You've probably heard this, or like the Norwegian 4x4 to increase your VO2 max. And this is really fast. This is your 3-minute or so all out effort. So most people are faster than their mile pace at VO2 max. Most people cannot sustain that. Some of the elites can do that. But these are your really short efforts. This is near your max pace. So this is really about efficiency. The more efficient you can get running, the better. If you can get faster and get efficient being faster, running slower feels easier, which is excellent. Most people are not going to spend a lot of time at their VO2 max. It's just really hard on the body. It takes a lot of recovery. Not something that I'm spending a huge amount of my time on because it takes so much recovery to do, or to adapt to, really. This is your at the track doing 200, 400, 800 kind of repeats, and an 800 at VO2 max is not going to feel very comfy. You know, that is really cranking on the speed. You could even do a workout where it's like a handful of 200s with a decent amount of rest between, and you're really cranking on the 200. So you can't even accumulate a whole lot of volume. That's why, you know, the track athletes that are doing mile to 10K will do their warm up and get a couple of miles in, and then they'll do their really hard work that they can only do so much of, and then go do a cool down afterwards to accumulate a little more of their volume. And then they might have to do 2 runs sometime later in the week to get the rest of their volume in. So VO2 max is a lot of effort on the body. This is producing energy almost entirely, not almost entirely, in large part anaerobically. So you're going to accumulate the byproducts, the same ones that you accumulate when you're above your threshold pace. You just accumulate them faster, and the results of that are more devastating, is like an aggressive way of saying that. But the results of VO2 max work are like when you see people splayed out on the ground after a workout and their heart rate is near max and just not super comfortable. Last one I want to touch on are like strides and max velocity work. So if you can increase your max speed, just as I said earlier, you get more efficient running in general. So like my big sprint background, I think has been really helpful for my distance running. It's different, and there's different efficiency and there's different economy, but I know that it's easier for me to run sub-maximally because I can run pretty fast in my max speed. So strides are used usually at the end of a workout, where you just spend a little bit of time. This is not like, it's not supposed to be hard in like the splayed out on the ground way. It's hard in a different way because you have to recruit a lot of muscle fibers. So it's really good at muscle recruitment. You have to be more elastic, so you have to be more bouncy with your steps, and you get more efficient running. So these two things kind of dump into the bucket of being more coordinated at these faster paces. So it's really cool. Strides are really neat. Max velocity is you are like genuinely, truly all out, flat out, and this might be for 10 to 30 meters. So like a 10-meter fly or a 30-meter fly, is you are cranking 95% plus of your total max speed. It is your like true sprinting. Max velocity bleeds into the strides, which bleeds into VO2 max, and so on and so forth. It's a kind of virtuous cycle. The faster you get at the top end, so long as you're doing all of the other aerobic and anaerobic adaptations that come along with it, the person who can run faster is probably going to be more efficient. So That is a lot of talking to go through your all-day pace zone 2 tempo, threshold, VO2 max, strides, and max velocity. If you have any questions on those, drop them down below. I am super happy to chat. This next part is kind of my favorite part of these live streams, is hearing what you guys are up to, what your week looks like for training, any races you have coming up, any questions you have on what I just said, or anything else. Go ahead and start getting started in the chat there. Let me know what you're doing. Or if you have any questions that popped up from any of this, I would be more than happy to clarify any of it. But hopefully that de-muddies the water. Just slow to fast, you get more structural and like aerobic energy adaptations early. You go to more efficiency and muscle recruitment and anaerobic energy production and anaerobic byproduct clearance as you go faster. So with that said, we're going to open it up, see what you guys have to say. If any questions are there, I am super stoked. The chat's just down below the camera, so that's why I've been looking down there as well. Go ahead and drop any questions you've got for me. How many threshold sessions should I be doing per week if I want to get faster for a half marathon? Great question. Really only one. So the thing with the faster paces is they are great for eliciting adaptation, but they're very hard on the body. You can't just do threshold and threshold and threshold and threshold because it takes time to recover. And then, so like if this is your baseline here, you kind of dip down after a session like that. It's hard on your body. If this is your normal performance, if you do that, you're going to go down. But then our bodies are really cool. It's called supercompensation. You go above where this original baseline is. So you drop down and then you come back up. If you drop down and then do another threshold session too fast, you'll drop down again. And then the same thing can happen. So that's how athletes get buried and burn out and stuff. You have to go down and then let yourself adapt. Just one session per week is plenty. You're touching on the efficiency and the energy system adaptation, that anaerobic side, the clearance, all those adaptations that are within threshold. You only need one per week. You can sometimes add a little bit if you are more advanced in your running. You can sometimes add a little bit more to your long run. So if you hear quality work in your long run, that's usually going to land somewhere between tempo and threshold, depending on what that quality work looks like. For longer efforts, like I said, I did 6 miles. That was much more towards my tempo pace of quality work in my workout the other day. If you are doing threshold work in a long run, you are putting a lot of emphasis on that long run. You're probably going into a down week. You are pulling the reins back a lot. You're saying this is going to be a big session. We're going for a big stimulus, and we then have to let our bodies recover from that. So, you know, if a normal run drops you to here, a long run with threshold work is going to like drop you real hard, but then you get a bigger bounce if you can recover from it well. That's again usually going to be for more advanced athletes or more advanced runners. I don't like the word athletes much anymore in this context. I think it misses the point a little bit. After watching your Super Blast video and hearing you explain the different advantages, I went out and got some new daily training running shoes. What'd you grab, Carl? I am super curious what your new trainers are. I've got my Super Blast right here. I did my long run in these, which is really exciting because that means we're over 80 miles in them, I think, which means I'm going to do my review on the whole shoe. 80 miles in, I've done, I don't know, I'm going to go through and get more clean data on how many easy runs work. I've done 2 or 3 workouts in them, and I just did a long run in it. Still really good. I'm curious about the longevity. It did feel good at the end of my 12 miles. I actually did a little bit of a pickup to test it and see how it felt. And I liked how it did feel 12 miles in. But I can see a lot of, man, it's really dirty. I don't know that this is going to show very well, but it looks like there's a lot of creasing here on the FF Leap foam. So like up here, you can see there's a lot of compression lines there. And that worries me a little bit. I know it was happening in the Metaspeed Ray for some of the Believe in the Run reviewers. I don't know yet. That's going to be something where you have to run a couple 100 miles, and that's going to take time, although I do fully plan on doing it in these shoes. So we'll see. It's just going to take a little bit of time to figure out, but so far, 80 miles in for the majority of the life of the shoe, it's going to be really nice, I expect. If it can do a 12-mile long run, I'm sure it can do 15. I didn't really get any foot fatigue or any weird like hot spots or anything, and that was just under 2 hours for me. So big thumbs up still so far. I think it'll also do better as I'm rotating shoes, so I'm excited to get into like a really flat, normal feeling daily trainer because I've done almost all of my runs the past 2.5 weeks in that shoe. And I'm just ready for something more normal. So it'll be nice to put it into a rotation, let the foam decompress, because I've done, 6 runs a week for 2.5 weeks. I think the foam is maybe fatiguing a little bit. So I'm going to give it time and get back into them later this week. Okay, after watching Super Blast video and hearing you got a new daily trainer, was limited a bit by availability in South Africa, so I got the Adidas Supernova Prima 2. Interesting. I actually don't know that shoe off the top of my head, but I'm sure it's a good one. Such a cool quarter zip. You can definitely grab one of the quarter zips. It's the Ontos quarter zip. Ontos is my brand. So as I said, I don't have any coaching to sell you. I am making some pretty sick running gear though. If you want to, you can go to ontosrunning.com, and I should soon have this in the, well, it's in the description of this video, but I should be able to have it pop up on the video soon, which is very exciting. Just, advancements that you get. Anybody else in the chat, how is your running going? I can see there are 6 of you in here. Drop your questions or what have you. I know it's not just me and Carl in here. Yes, Carl, please go check out the website. Any other questions related to like our threshold and tempos and stuff, what you would want workouts to look like, anything like that? Anything about your own training, about your own races coming up? Randolph, if you are still here, would love to hear what you're getting up to. Running half marathon, getting the kit all ready, Carl? Yeah. It's so nice to have it laid out so you're not like stressed about your entire setup. So I like having everything that I'm wearing set out the night before my half marathons, before a marathon. I'm going to set everything out, including my goos. If I've got my heart rate monitor, I don't know where that ended up, but I'll have my heart rate monitor set out. I'll have my kit, so my tank or whatever I'm wearing on top, my half tights, my shoes, my socks, everything ready to go. So it's almost hard for me to mess up any of it. I think having it all set out just makes life much easier, especially because it's usually an early morning, and I don't know about you, but my brain is not always all the way on that early. Carl, is this the half that you're trying to go under 90 at? Or is that in a little bit? Also, I think my brother may be on here. If you're at Panera, Nate, you can start heading back this way. It was cool. My brother and I are fortunate enough that we were able to come down and see our grandparents today. So we drove quite a ways. Actually, I'll give you this too. Takes you a long time to get going, and the early mornings totally get you. Having everything laid out, I think, makes it a little easier. While I'm waiting to see if anybody else pops in or says anything, no, tomorrow's definitely not going to be a fast one. Okay, just accumulating volume. Good. Again, the adaptations that we get from that will lead to the faster times later on when we're trying to hit those faster paces. But this trip came up a little unexpectedly, but we're stoked to be here. I didn't want to miss out on my training. I knew this will be a really good up week for me, so I didn't want to lose the volume I was going to have. I shifted my week around, and I think that's something that people can get hung up with sometimes. But I think it's important not to get too hung up on it. I just shifted a lot of things earlier into my week. So I did a workout before I left that I would have normally done on like a Thursday, but I was in a car for 11 hours, which means I'm not going to be able to get that run in unless I stop part of the way through, and I didn't want to add an hour and a half, 2 hours to our drive. So I said, okay, cool, I'll just move my week around, move that because it's a priority. I still got the workout in. And I've not missed any of my mileage yet. I took the off day where I needed it for travel, knowing that I do have like a 3-mile run later tomorrow when we're driving back. But once I get back, just slog 3 miles out and we'll be done. We'll hit all of our mileage for the week. So when you have weird life things pop up, I think it's really important to give yourself grace and give yourself the opportunity to change things around in your week. Because if you can be flexible, you miss less. If you're super rigid, like I can only do this day, and then you don't get it done, you just lose out on any of that adaptation without any opportunity to really make it up. So be flexible, be willing to move stuff forwards or backwards. I always talk about like writing in pencil. I use the analogy to say like, write in pencil so you can erase it and write it somewhere else. Don't just cross it out. Don't just not do a workout because it doesn't work in your week and you're super stringent on your week. Good morning, runners. Hello, Adam. Welcome in. I hope your morning workout went well. Mine was not at 5, but it was early because the Florida sun will light you up quick, fast, and in a hurry, for sure. So we got our run in, we were running by 6:05, I think, and by 8, not too bad. What else? Write in pencil. I like the Coros app. The Coros is a running watch brand, so that's the brand I use. Their app is really intuitive. You can just drag and drop days, which I find to be really beneficial. So it'll give you, I think it gives you opportunities to move your week around ahead of time. And if vacation, no, Adam, not quite. We're visiting grandparents. So nice to visit, but you could call it vacation, I guess. I don't know. Just good to see family. But Koros is cool because you can drag and drop stuff. Yeah, yeah. I'll give it a couple of minutes, but if nothing else pops up, I can let everybody get to their day, and we'll get to seeing our grandparents. But drop in if you've got any other questions that are running related or not. Super happy to chat on it. Do I create my run workouts in the Koros app? I actually generally, they have really good training programs that I like a lot that are just free and built into Koros. You don't even have to have a Koros watch to use them. So if you just go to Koros, I think it's Koros.com. If you Google Koros training plans, you can get to them from there. I usually use that as a skeleton. Just like, I'm happy to write myself a whole program, but if I've got a skeleton made already, it's actually pretty convenient because it'll have your long run days, your easy run days, your workout days, and then you can just move them around. And I'll go in and I'll edit workouts. I'll make something easier or something harder, or I'll change the interval duration. Because I already have it within the Koros app. But if you don't know where to start at all, their training plans are pretty good. That's what I had one of my friends start with, is just one of their reintroduction to running. So they have run walk programs. They've got, I'm on a I think 3 hour and 30-minute marathon training program that's a little easier than I think I can do, so that I've got an easy baseline. If I don't feel good, I'm getting the mileage accumulated, but I'm not like stressed about hitting every single workout exactly as it's supposed to be for a sub 3 hour marathon, which is really kind of the goal. I think having it sub max or an easier baseline allows me to then take a step up on days where I feel good. And I'm the kind of person, like, if I feel good enough and I think it works within the training plan, I'll just go in ahead of time, like purposefully, mindfully, make a workout harder, knowing that I've got some easier stuff later in the week. So yes, I do really like the Koros app. You can create your own workouts. So I've made my own workouts in there entirely from start to finish before. Really, really good interface. I like it a lot as somebody who has done a lot of coaching in the past with not as good apps. What's your thought on running hats? Adam, I think you know I love myself a good running hat. Just like with the Ontos branded quarter zip, I have made an entire running hats from scratch, like choosing every detail about it, being kind of uncompromising. It is coming soon to ontosrunning.com. Actually, we're about 3 months out. I've got samples for the next iteration coming soon. When you're done in the live stream, go into YouTube editor and cut out your best moments as standalone videos. I think that's a good idea. I need to get better at doing that, because I know you can download the whole video. I actually might have the whole thing downloaded straight to my computer that I could then chop up and put out, because I do think it'd be valuable to do, and I think it would help more people, because it would give me more videos that can then reach more people who can then see the stuff and hopefully get a little bit of value and encouragement from, and keep themselves moving. I'll give it a couple more minutes. If anybody else pops in, what does my current training look like? So it's interesting. I find myself being pretty bad at choosing multiple things to do at the same time. I am training for a 15K run, so 9.3 miles, and a 50K run, which is 31 miles. And they are like 3 weeks apart from one another. And the reason I kind of like doing that is the 50K, I like keeping really easy. Like I'm not gonna try and crush the time. I'm aiming for like 15-minute miles on purpose to make it not overly hard so that I can walk where I want to, stop when I want, eat food and not worry about like my stomach flipping because I'm working too hard. The 15K, I have a rather lofty goal. So for me, running under 60 minutes for a 15K would be really cool because that's 3 5Ks in a row that are all sub 20 or averaged out to be sub 20. I don't know if I'll be able to do that yet. I'll be close-ish, I think. That's March, April, May. That's still 2.5 months away. And I think I'm getting in pretty good shape right now. So see you, Adam. Thanks for coming in. So I think it'll be close. I think it's a lofty goal, but that keeps a lot of speed in my legs while building a big aerobic engine so that when I go to do a half marathon and a full marathon later this year, I'm going to be in a much stronger position, both speed and durability wise, to be able to really hit some big training going into the latter part of the year. Hopefully running as close to 3 hours in the full marathon as possible. I think that is about all. I didn't see anybody else pop in between last call and now. So thank you, Carl. I do always appreciate you hanging out. The questions make things a lot easier for me to just kind of have a direction to go with some conversation. But I think I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here. I hope you have a great run tomorrow. Run well based on what you want to have accomplished with it. Like really, I hope you have a great time. I know it's always fun to get out and just be around people and do the work. So I appreciate you. I will see you, Carl, Wednesday this week. We should be about normal on it. See you, Carl. See everybody else too, if anybody else is hanging around. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Bye.